Make sure your treasure is buried, your parrot fed, and the rum is poured. It's time to set sail on another Patches and Rum podcast, exclusively for members of the History of Pirates channel.
I use that tune a lot in this channel, you know? I really like that tune.
It's a good one.
I use that tune a lot now that I listen to it on the countdown and the intro. And yes, once we're done here, this podcast will be automatically flipped just for members. So if you're a member of this channel, you're going to get that. And we've got some cool things coming for the members as well. You're not going to believe this. Some giveaways, some other things as oh man. I'm not going to forget about you. You guys know me already. You know I don't forget about our channel members. Well, welcome into our amazing panel. Yeah. It is it's Jay. Next to me is X-Wing the Pirate, I guess. I thought he was going to write Captain Stash, but
it's Captain Stash. I should probably change that. Probably
he didn't change that. And coming in, your hat is massive, man. The bigger the hat, the bigger the captain. That's all.
That's
I
right.
Say.
That's right. Everyone deserves that.
That's how it is. And down below is King's Advisors. My man, this is like we're missing just a few that usually play Sea of Thieves with us. So what's going on, chat? Welcome to this is the first time we've done this podcast live for everyone to view. So we're going to be mixing it up just for members. Then we're going to do a live one for everyone, but then just for members again. So just trying to get a little more eyes on the channel. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. We have a good time. A little bit of a break of all the nonsense that goes on in the world. So, you know, and don't forget to check out my friend's channel, X-Wing and King's Advisors. We'll be putting all that in there. And look at that. Already a new member.
All right.
Look at these awesome emojis you get to use.
Do we have the rose Tico here?
I do. I gotta make a new one.
You should just put like a pirate hat on her.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to re-edit it. So
that'll do.
I don't have much to I don't have anything to share. It's just like the intro again.
Make sure your
That's what I got. Thank you for becoming a member of this channel. So Steiner Matt. It's pretty awesome. Well, today we have a treat. A pirate that is soon becoming like one of my all-time favorite pirates. And make sure I say his name correctly. Stede Bonnet.
Stede Bonnet.
Yeah.
What a name.
Look at that. Captain Stash is my favorite pirate.
Oh, Lord. I've got the
What's up,
vapors
Tabitha?
over here. Hello, Tabitha.
Wow, Caleb is a ghost pirate just floating along.
We might see him detached from his body.
He actually looks like Stede Bonnet from all the photos that I've.
Yeah, it's actually
it definitely was not an accident at all.
Well, if you don't know, the story of Stede Bonnet is they call him the gentleman pirate, and we're gonna get into that. But it's quite a crazy adventure. And look at this right here, dropping the deuce for $2. Just say.
He's on the poop deck, lads.
He's swabbing it.
High back. Yeah. High back. Yeah. So the Gentleman Pirate is such a unique tale. This person was not originally a pirate. And he mixed, he was mixed in with Blackbeard and all the other famous ones during the Golden Age. But let's start from the very beginning. If you don't know who this person is, this is such a crazy story.
How could he not be famous throughout the centuries for what this guy is like? It's just it's incredible.
The way he went about doing it, I think, is probably one of the more interesting ways of doing it.
He's the everyman pirate. Let's just start with that.
He's the video game pirate.
That's
exactly,
right.
Yeah.
He's one of us.
One of us.
He's one of us that plays Sea of Thieves going, yeah, I can do this.
I want to be a pirate.
Yeah, I can be a pirate. I can. Ah, look. Our Sea Hag Queen is in the chat.
It's the nautical Nymph.
I'm telling you. There we go. Another member of our crew. I don't know why I should have invited her on. Sorry about that. Well, it was just we were talking about this guy thing. So
yeah.
Stede Bonnet. Stede Bonnet's career. He was a gentleman pirate. Many people say, including the Smithsonian, when you go to the Smithsonian, they talk about him, said that this person represented the worst midlife crisis in the history of midlife crisis. Like he had the worst
best
of all time.
And it wasn't even his midlife.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a guy who was a retired British Army major who owned a large sugar plantation in Barbados, who had a wife and several children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Living the dream. He was
very wealthy. He was rich. He had everything. He knew how to speak properly. He was well educated. He knew all the prominent governmental figures. They all invited him to the parties. He dressed like that person with the white stockings, probably.
Frillies coming out of his neck.
And the big, you know.
He was a major in the Barbados militia.
So he had it all. And all of a sudden,
this guy essentially had everything that we want nowadays. You're like, I want a successful life living in the Caribbean with some land and and a nice wife and some kids. He had everything.
Let me tell you something, ladies. If you all get together and want to do something, I'll give you access to this channel. I'll host it. That'd be awesome. What? Got those in Jamaica.
I did.
Then all of a sudden he started, according to some historians, he was fascinated with pirates, Captain Kidd, and a few others. He read a lot of books on them that were available and decided that he had enough of his wife and kids and his family fortune and his promising lifestyle. And he probably would have retired one of the most wealthiest men in the Caribbean. And he said, I've had enough. I've had enough of you, woman, and you downright unruly kids. I'm just going to pack up and go. So he took a large chunk of his money and went down to the local dock and said, what's your fastest ship you ever have? And they're like, we got this one. He goes, all right, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
I'm officially going to become a pirate.
So what was kind of funny about him was there are mixed representations about why he really left, but I think the general consensus is his wife was driving him absolutely insane.
There was a historian, Charles Johnson, that wrote in his book that it was the wife's nagging and, quote, discomforts he found in a married state.
Yes, that was the quote. So he was not happy with the home life, and Stede decided he was going to go down and buy a ship. Now, what was so awesome was that...
What was the quote again?
He was driven to piracy by Mary, his wife's nagging and, quote, discomforts he found in a married state.
Discomforts in a married state. So, the general consensus is he had a nagging wife and he'd had enough of that. So he went down.
Imagine by today's standards, he would have been a multimillionaire.
Yes. This is like Elon Musk going and buying a spaceship.
Yeah, he probably had a super massive house, owned lots of land. He could have stayed like in another section of the house.
Yeah.
He probably could have divorced.
He probably already was.
Yeah. Nope. Decided not to. So he went down and he purchased a ship and basically tried to stay under the radar because it was not uncommon for these highbrow folks to have pleasure cruising ships. And so he buys a Jamaica sloop, or a Bermuda sloop is what they call it. And pop culture has gotten it completely wrong. A lot of times they've shown the ship that was him, the Revenge, not the Queen Anne's Revenge, which a lot of people messed that up. It's the Revenge. It was a single-masted sloop. This was a tiny ship with 10 guns. This was not a big ship by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of times we like to imagine the Black Pearl, these big 3-masted galleons or narrow, stern man of wars, these gigantic pirate ships with, 76 guns per side. Now he had 10 cannons on it. And it was fast, and it's the way he used it that he was effective. But yeah, it just looked like a pleasure cruiser. That's what he had.
I heard that, I don't know what truth there is, that he did redecorate the captain's quarters to make it more comfortable for him.
I would have to imagine so.
Is that a
Oh,
possibility?
I would assume so.
Because he had the money to do it.
My favorite thing was that, most pirate captains got their crew and they'd pull into port, they'd say, who wants to sign up? And then you pay them through the booty system. But he paid them an actual wage.
You might want to explain what the booty system is.
Booty
So,
system.
so when I don't know if it was like every month or after every successful attack or what the time period was, but throughout the year, all the pirates would come together and either they would divide up the wealth, and depending on your renown and type thing, that would kind of decided how much of the percentage you would get. And then of course, we can see from is it the third Pirates movie that there was also tribute. So, pirates would also have to provide tribute to their captain, and that would then get put into the booty of the ship, which would then be divided later.
But not Stede
But
Bonnet.
but he paid them an actual wage for
they
most of
they
the
had
time.
a salary.
Yeah,
He paid him
they got
up
a
front.
salary for being
Yeah.
a pirate.
Yep.
So the story goes, he goes to the local tavern and says, hello, I'm the new pirate in town. Who would like to be part of my ship? And he got laughed at and made fun of because of the way he talked, the way he dressed. And then when he said, well, I need experienced people and I will pay you in advance, he immediately got a large sign up.
Yeah.
So
Imagine that. Like money up front. If I was a pirate,
yeah.
I'd be like, money right now. Yeah, I'll take it. 100%. Let's go.
And so he was basically learning on the job. Now, granted, I don't know how long it took for him to like purchase the ship and make accommodations. Did he just like grab a chest full of his money and just say, honey, I'll be back. I'll bring back some eggs and milk.
So
He went to
there's
get
a
some
record. There is a record of him actually withdrawing a fairly large sum before he left. I think it was 1,700 or something like that, which by today's standards is just like just a buttload of money.
Yeah,
Yeah, he pulled that out before he left.
I know, but it's like, how do you just leave without like kissing your kids goodbye?
Yes.
Or did you
Probably, yeah.
think that he was gonna come back? Do you think in his mindset he was like, let me just do a little pirating, maybe I'll take over a couple small ships, and when I'm all said and done, I'll just come back home and everything will be fine?
There's no way. And the reason I say that is because there were two things. I think he didn't want his family to ever know what he did. So if he ever found a ship from the Bahamas, he would burn it.
Yep.
Of all the ships he captured, every single one, the only one he always put to torch were ships from the Bahamas. He burnt them because he didn't want his family to find out what he was doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if he just
So actually, yeah, that might be a good.
Yeah,
maybe he was going to go home.
Saw it as I can always come back to this. If this doesn't work out, I can always go back and go be the highbrow.
What's your wife gonna say?
Aristocrat.
Yeah.
Hey, babe. Sorry, I know I've been gone a while, but
I just had to soil the royal oats or whatever they call it back then.
pirate oats.
Yeah. Or he could say, I got kidnapped. You know?
Yeah, no. I mean, he bought that ship and pieced out. And look, the crew, I said it was a small boat. It was only 10 guns. It still took 70 guys to
Yeah.
do that thing. So, I mean, it wasn't like he didn't make an impact when he left.
Ah, man, it's like, it just goes to show you that people could have everything and still not be happy. And that adventure calls.
You got to find your heart's desire,
You
baby.
know, you got to find your passion. And I think from what I study is that, especially when William Kidd was executed, one of the first pirates to be executed, he was actually, and feel free to correct me, but from what I read, he was actually looked at some kind of like a hero because he was standing up against the crown of the unfairness. And so a lot of the local poor, lower class people looked at him as like, oh man, he stuck it to the king. Most people don't even dare go against the king. He robbed them. He did all this stuff. And so when he was killed, when he was hung there, people were like, the books that were written made him to be almost like a martyr type.
Yeah.
Than like
Well,
just
he
a
was
regular old
Scottish
dirty
as well.
pirate.
So him being Scottish, the Scots have always had a air of revolution about them.
Yeah,
And
they're
even
rebels.
as
They're
far as,
rebels, lad.
a couple years ago when they tried to gain independence again. So that Scotland, it's an unruly area. I like the
Well,
Scots.
you kind of have to think of them almost as like a very early mafia boss, like a mafia don from way back in the day, right? Nobody was looking after the boroughs, but the mafia don who fought against the state and brought the money back into the community, those are the people that you looked up to.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So now you have this guy that has money and everything. Probably bored out of his mind. What you doing today? Checking on the sugar cane. It's still there.
Wife
While the
told me
wife nags.
wife
Why don't
told me
you
to
lose
fix the
some
well.
weight? Why don't you like brush your hair? Why don't you get your teeth fixed? Why don't you take a bath? Stop eating like this.
So I did read something that suggested one of the reasons he decided, oh, maybe I can go do this is because during this time when he kind of decided, oh, maybe I'll go, F off, was the revolution in Spain going on. Spain was dealing with all of their holdings basically trying to revolt, and you had the slave revolts in the West Indies,
Haiti,
in Colombia. All those places were trying to break away from the Spanish crown. So I think there's a lot of political unrest going on as well.
Well, the entire basis of piracy came from the ending of that war, of the Spanish War. You had 15,000 naval folk who were like, "What do I do now?"
Yeah.
All they
Sam
know is life
Bellamy
at the
and all
sea.
them, they were just
Everything. The war ended, and they're like, "What do we do?" They're like, "Well, we're pretty good at shooting ships down and taking
England
their
was
stuff."
like, "Thanks for your service.
Yeah.
Good luck."
Yep.
That's all we have for you. Now, one report out there couldn't believe that it was his nagging wife that drove this man into piracy, that there possibly could have been a hurricane or something happened to his plantation and he was falling into some financial issues.
Yeah,
now, a lot of historians they fought against that claim, saying if he had so much financial issues, he wouldn't have the money to buy the ship and pay the crew. So those are two stories that are out there now. That a guy couldn't believe a woman would drive that man to do this.
Oh, they can.
So
sounds like an unmarried person.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
or a woman who said that.
I didn't want to say it.
So he gets his crew. He's learning as he goes. He probably hired some people with experience. How old is he around this time? What do you guys guess?
So he was born in the 1685, 1684, somewhere in there. 1717 is when 30... it really kicked off.
So he's not even 40 yet.
412.
Most people didn't even live that long anyway.
I mean, he was 30 when he was killed.
Yeah, so he's like in his 20s.
26. That's why it's not even a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
It's just
that was midlife.
I'm tired of this woman.
Yeah. So he's still dealing in his college years. Of like partying and stuff. These pirates got the life, man. I go down to the local tavern every Friday night. I hear what they're saying. Women, wine, money.
Captain Sash got cooties in Jamaica. I want to get cooties in Jamaica.
That's right. He barely even itches. It's fine.
He's fine.
And then so he goes out, he gets his crew, he's ready to go. And Nikki, what side of YouTube is this? The right side.
The right side.
So he gets out there and he finally decides, all right, let's see if we could pirate a ship. Now, from what I have read, here is his Jolly Roger. He had an interesting Jolly Roger, which had a balance, had a dagger and a heart, which symbolizes you choose. You can either live or you could die.
Resist and die. Don't resist and you live.
So
I love that.
his first ship, a small merchant, apparently he raises the Jolly Roger flag, and they surrender immediately.
Yep.
And he doesn't really get much. He gets a little loot, but he gets that satisfaction of this isn't too difficult.
I did it.
Like, and then apparently this happens several times where he's actually quite successful. That most of these ships that he went after, they just surrendered.
Yeah, so he was raiding basically along the coast of the Americas. He wasn't like your typical Pirates of the Caribbean. He's in the Atlantic. He's raiding up and down the coast. And within basically the first few days of him actively going out, he captures like a bunch of ships.
Yeah.
It was like
6 or 7 different
it was
vessels.
a bunch. He doesn't get a lot from it, but I mean,
No.
he gets the confidence. He's like, I can do this.
But that's the thing about the merchant vessels is they didn't have the means of defense at this time because, like y'all said earlier, pirating was relatively new especially against a British merchant vessel. Like you didn't mess.
You didn't hit
British
the crown.
Navy.
Yeah, you didn't mess with the crown. They'd send the victory after you. You don't do that.
Pretty wild. There's over almost 100 people in here.
What?
Can you guys hit
guys?
the like button? And some people are here and they're totally confused as to what's going on. I don't know if they'll stay. So this channel is dedicated to the One Piece content. Yeah, pretty much. This is the History of Pirates channel. If you're new here, why not subscribe and think about becoming a member of the channel? Like, we do a lot of cool things.
You're being press ganged into service.
It's all about pirates, from
the
very, very real to the fiction to stuff we see, on the movies. So a little bit of a break of all the nonsense that we see out there. So, wow. Nikki says X-Wing looks like Bret Michaels if he was a pirate. Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
this is the other reason why I normally kept these live streams for members only, because people showing up would be like, what the freak is this?
All right.
What is happening here?
That's
she said that's a compliment.
No, she said that's not a compliment.
Not a compliment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I can see it though.
Okay.
I try to change it. So after roughly about 10 to 12 ships that he was able to pirate without even firing a shot, our man here who had the midlife crisis, who ran away from his wife and kids, decided that nothing's going to stand in his way. And up on the horizon was a Spanish man of war.
Ooh.
Yep.
How big were those ships? How many guns we're talking? We're talking about the gentleman pirate had about 10 guns to the man of war, which is
somewhere around like 120, 100 to 120, 700 to 800 men. Very, very large ships.
Well, so it depends on.
Right, I'm talking about British first of the line. Okay.
Yeah, so man of war was a term given to ships of a certain size. It's not. If it was Spanish, it was likely a Spanish galleon, and that's 35, 45, depending on, especially in, the early 1700s. That's probably closer to about 35 guns, but that's still 15 to 20 guns on one side of the ship, whereas our friend here has 5.
Yeah.
And probably actually 4, because 2 of them are probably stern chasers.
Right.
So it's probably 4 and 2 at the front.
For $5, thought I'd stumbled onto some weird gay fetish podcast. Well, indeed you have. Thank you for the $5. Thank you for the $5. Yeah, this is why I usually keep these just for members only, because you never know.
Here we go.
People are showing up like, what the freak is this?
Here comes the rabble.
Anyway, but good old Stede thought, all we got to do is raise our flag and they'll surrender just like the rest. Little did he know that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
right.
Now, the difference between these man of war ships and the ship that Stede had was his ship was extremely fast, while the bigger ships they're harder to maneuver a little bit, turning and speed and things like that. So with the smaller ships, you might not have the manpower to win, but you did have the manpower to escape.
Yeah.
So he sails up to the man of war, allegedly, raises his pirate flag, and they were just like, "What?"
The cojones on
everybody
this guy.
point and laugh at this little pirate.
Because they're not an 80-year-old captain with salted pork in the hull of his ship. This is a military vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they start shooting, and Stede Bonnet was like, "What's going on here? We're losing."
Can you imagine being on that ship at that time? He's like, "Wait, they're not surrendering." Sails, get the sails.
It's just
Put
like,
on your pocket handkerchiefs. We gotta leave.
I'm telling you, man, it's freaking wild. And then he gets badly injured. The ship's in turmoil, but they were able to like raise sails and like they must have caught like a brisk wind because they were able to get out of there. And I believe they headed to Nassau.
Yeah.
So they went to Nassau.
So hard it changed the wind.
What's that?
He prayed so hard it changed the wind.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'll never do anything like this ever again.
So he was about to die, and he made it to Nassau, where a young pirate had a proposition for him. And that young pirate was Blackbeard.
Edward Teach.
How crazy is that, man?
So we said this in the pre-show. I was like, this guy is basically the drunk 3PO of pilots. He just walked into a bar and Blackbeard was there. He's like, "Hey, we should hang out." And he's like, "Okay." Like, how did you meet Blackbeard?
I think that's why I like this guy so much, because he just bumbles around and stuff happens.
Runs into famous people.
It's crazy. Let me get some of these crazy super chats from Celluloid Dream 199. Sing us a sea shanty, boys. Maybe at the very end. But thank you for the 199.
Lowlands Away. They'd love that.
Yeah. Dropping a deuce for 5. Who's the guy on the top right? He looks like Sloth from the Goonies.
Hey, you guys. Is it your right or my right?
It's probably, I don't know. But yeah, young Blackbeard. Edward, some say Edward Teach, some say Edward Thatch. So
he also met Benjamin Hornigold, who was an even bigger threat at the time than Teach.
Benjamin Hornigold was the guy, and we could do a whole podcast on him. He was basically like the governor of Nassau under the pirate code. Even though he wasn't the official one, he was kind of in charge of that whole city as a pirate. So like he was he kind of like set the law of the lands. He helped create like the pirate rules, and regulations, all those things like that. And so he was like he was a top tier guy.
He ran out
also
the existing governor, and he goes, "We're gonna do it this way now."
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes, "Pirates on my island," and he goes, "Consider it protection."
Maximus for 199. Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Ooh.
Cheers on that.
How do you think I got my cooties, lad?
But yeah, so those guidelines. So you have so good old Stede here is like injured. He can barely walk. He doesn't know what to do. His half of his not half, but a lot of his crew is dead. His ship is messed up. And here comes Blackbeard before he was Blackbeard. A young Edward. Should we do Teach? Should we just do the Edward Teach? Is that
Teach.
what you guys are?
Yeah, he's Teach.
Yeah, I've always just heard Teach.
You never heard Edward Thatch?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's depending on what country you're from. So Edward Teach shows up and says, "Hey, I have a proposition for you. I will teach you how to be a pirate. I will teach you how to like run your ship. I will teach you all those things if you give me your ship and your crew to command. You'll still be."
That's not how it started.
Right.
So it actually started as, let's be buddies, let's sail together. And so they started sailing together. And then eventually Teach says, "Come onto my ship. You shouldn't deal with all the hardships of being a captain. Come on my ship. You can relax, live the pirate life." And then sends his underling to actually go pirate the Revenge, and whose name, Caleb, I can't remember at this time. He actually goes and starts.
The underling.
Yeah. He goes and
is,
starts captaining
I
the
had
Revenge.
Was it Richards or David Harriet?
I think it was Richards.
That I don't
I think
know.
it was Richards. But so he sends him
Richards,
to go. Yeah. So he sends him to captain the Revenge. And then now basically he's stuck on Teach's ship.
Mhm.
And what is he going to do? Like
He's not really the thing that I really liked is everything I read described him as a guest. It's like, I don't think he was a guest.
He couldn't do anything. He was a prisoner on Teach's ship, and what is he going to do? He's going to revolt. His crew was already mad at him. His crew was on the brink of revolt because we're like, we have a captain who doesn't know anything about pirating, and now we get a guy from Blackbeard's ship who clearly knows how to sail, clearly knows how to do everything, and poor Stede is standing around on the deck of I don't know if it was the Queen Anne's Revenge or what it was that he was sailing at the time.
By then he had the Queen Anne's.
He's like, I'm a prisoner. I'm a prisoner pirate.
Well, it's funny because everyone remember how like unworthy he was, because that comes back around.
Yep.
It's crazy to me to think that he had this ship. He kind of gave it over to I guess to learn to heal and to figure out like what he's going to do with his pirate. And so this person and Stede and Blackbeard, they kind of were like friends.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I think they were. From what I've read, I think they were friends. I think but if there was any sort of like, I can't believe I'm going to use the words. If there was any sort of submissiveness in that relationship, it was definitely Stede that was submissive there.
And Stede forgot one thing about Edward Teach. He's a pirate.
Yeah. Yeah. But so that now that the years go on, Blackbeard has his ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge. And then he kind of gets his old ship back after they've been like pirating here and there.
Yeah, extremely successfully, by the way.
But Stede gets captured at one point. But he's able to talk himself out of it. And that's how he kind of secures the name the Gentleman Pirate.
Is this the North Carolina thing?
Yeah, yes. He uses his intellect in court to say
they were both captured.
Never.
Both Blackbeard and Stede were both arrested, basically, and they both got their I don't know if it was letters of marque by then. I think that's what he was trying to go get later, but they both got
the letters of marque came after when he fled back down to the Caribbean.
So Teach and Stede were both pardoned by the North Carolina governor.
Yep.
That's wild.
So he got, and this makes what comes later all the more worse. They both get pardoned.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, it's like, aren't I a good guy to have on your side? We got captured, and because of my eloquence and my teaching, I was able to talk us out of quite the kerfuffle, if I might say. They get out of it, and they're back on the sea. And shortly after, the word comes out that, by the way, we're going to pardon pirates. Everything you've done will be forgiven by the crown if you simply sign it away and work for us.
Yeah, people don't know that was England's grand plan to get rid of pirates in the Caribbean. They said, we'll give them all a pardon. And if they take their pardon, they could keep what they pirated. They could keep it. Nothing will happen to them. They just got to stop. And then once they stop, they're good to go. They could leave now and do whatever they want with whatever they caught from any ship anywhere. But if they keep doing it, they'll be killed in many different ways, mostly hung. But there was other things that they would do as well.
Stuck him in a basket and they hung him out outside the port.
It was called the Proclamation for Suppressing Pirates. Yeah. And it was King George's Act of Grace. It was King George I on 5 September 1717. And it promised a royal pardon for all pirates for any acts of piracy before January 5 of the next year.
Yeah. Which is, imagine in that time, in that era, if you were a pirate who you had wanted posters, people were out for your head, for the king to say, we'll forgive everything if you just stop. Could you imagine how attractive that was for most people? And
I mean, imagine doing that today.
Right? You're a serial killer. And they're like, by the way, if you just stop, we'll totally forgive it. So what does Stede Bonnet do? He hops on his fastest ship and he goes, I'm going to go get that proclamation. I'm done. This was way too wild. Teach was an actual pirate, and I think I messed up. I'm going to go down and get my proclamation. On the way, what does he do? No, I won't take it. I'm a pirate.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to go back to my
annoying.
I don't want to go back to my annoying wife. Pretty wild. Flint shot life. How you doing, man? Do you guys have any pirate pistols?
No,
I don't. But the other person that was supposed to be here does. But the other person that was supposed to be here, he's sick right now. But if he was here, he could talk your head off all about that stuff. So it's good to see you here, Flint shot.
I have
life.
modern ones, but not a pirate one.
I have an 1827 naval flintlock.
We're gonna get cutlasses.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I don't have it. My father has it. I'll have it someday. And then a boarding cutlass from 1826 as well.
So then things didn't get too happy between Stede and Blackbeard.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have a little, falling out, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
And Blackbeard, who was getting more treasure after he took the pardon. Now, this is what would happen a lot of times. The pirates would take a pardon. They would go out and still pirate, then come in and play stupid. Like, oh, there's a pardon?
Huh?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Re-up it.
Yeah. And then, they'd go out and do it again and be like, they'd get caught in some other country. And they're like, what? There's a pardon? Yeah, I'll take it. And that's Blackbeard, according to reports, he did that several times. He also had a deal with one of the governors in South Carolina where he would bring back some of his pirating stuff for that small town and back.
Johnson.
Or was it Johnson?
I think so, yeah. I mean, timeline works. It would probably Johnson.
Yeah, but he was collecting enough booty where we got to this interesting place where Blackbeard decided that he was going to scuttle and get rid of some of his ships and some of his crew so that he could keep more of this stuff for himself. So I guess there was a point where he was like, you know what? Maybe I really am going to retire. But I want to retire with as much stuff as I possibly can get. Yeah. He literally scuttled his own Queen Anne's Revenge, like the flagship. And then he abandoned Stede Bonnet's crew on an island, correct?
Yeah, he marooned him on a sandbar.
Yeah, which is it wasn't an island. It was
at least an island, it isn't going to disappear at 12 o'clock at night.
And beyond that, too, he actually sunk a number of Stede's ships that were in the little flotilla. He sunk them as well. So you got to imagine, Stede, you walk out, your guy who's been a buddy for so long, essentially, scuttles a bunch of your ships, leaves your crew on a sandbar. How are you feeling at that point? This guy, even as a moderate and fine gentleman, you're raging pissed. Pissed off. So he sails out and he goes and he rescues this these people off the sandbar, and his crew kind of looks at him a little differently after that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. They say, "Oh, well, you actually do care about your crew. You went out and you rescued them from the sandbar. Okay, like maybe we are a crew. We're a team."
Well, and what's funny is, so there are two other examples of punishment being handed out that show how different the crew looked at him. One is flogging. So he had two people flogged, I think about 2 or 3 weeks after he picked up the marooned crewmen. And it's crazy that he was able to do that, because just prior to picking them up, the crew didn't think of him at all as the actual captain. They thought of the quartermaster as the captain. And so the fact that they obeyed an order for flogging, which pirates already hated because of how liberal it was used on naval vessels where most of them
Yeah.
would have come from.
You don't want to beat your buddies.
Yeah. And then the other was he was actually one of the first to actually use the plank. He actually
Really?
had people walk the plank. And a lot of historians basically agree that was
Man, I heard that was a
Yeah,
ghost story.
that was like the golden age. That was like 20, 40 years later type thing. And he would have been one of the first to do it back in 1718.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And the fact that they allowed him to do that shows how much
The
that
loyalty
whole
crew.
rescuing his crew changed their minds of him.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, it's so crazy because depending on what book you read,
Yeah.
it's like
Everything
this
is
is the
different.
stories that you get, like depending on like what you read and where you hear different things. It's pretty wild. So basically what happened, Blackbeard docked his fleet in North Carolina. Stede Bonnet went ashore and returned to find that Blackbeard had stripped and abandoned the Revenge and marooned some of his crew members on a small island. Bonnet took his ship back, picked up the men, and resumed his pirating practices. This time he had a goal of punishing Blackbeard. But he never got that chance. So
Yeah, so he chased him down. He chased him down into the Caribbean.
Yeah.
This is what I've read at least. So he chased him down to the Caribbean. They found out where he was. He sailed into that port just expecting an absolute battle, and then found out that they had left. They'd set sail like hours before back up the coast of the United States. or the colonies
Real
or whatever you
quick,
call it, that one.
Imperial Buckethead, thank you for becoming a member of the channel.
All right, what's up, Buckethead?
I
Up, Buckethead.
appreciate it, man. And also Wicked Virtue stopping by with a $5 super sticker.
She's
Thank
making a
you.
Sunday sauce.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate all the love and support here. So then the governor of South Carolina commissioned Colonel William Wright. Is that how you say his name? Went to go and capture him. And in August of 1718, Rhett cornered Bonnet at the mouth of the Cape Fear River.
Mm-hmm.
And after a violent firefight, he managed to get the pirates arrested.
So it was a really kind of dumb battle. It really, if you read about it, it really goes to show just how treacherous naval combat was, because the only reason Rhett was outnumbered. So Rhett had, I think it was 3 sloops with him and 130 men. Actually, Rhett was outnumbered. He was outgunned. Rhett had 3 sloops and 130 men. What's his name? Stede had 70 men and 2 ships, I believe. Well, actually, I think he had 3 as well, but he had destroyed 2 of them to repair the Revenge. And so he's sitting there getting everything all fixed and everything, and the ships show up to Rhett's ship show, take him, and it's actually, rewind a little bit. He had actually changed the name to the Royal James. And
he did that kind of like as a slap to the king, right?
Yeah, so he didn't want to ruin the chance of getting his letter of marque.
Real quick, this is not a premiere. We're live, everybody. Hello, we are live having a discussion.
Yep.
All right.
So he had accepted the pardon in North Carolina and was going to go to, I think it was St. Martin, to get the letter of marque. But the hurricane season and the treachery of Blackbeard basically forced him to pirate again in order to get supplies. And that's what forced South Carolina to send Rhett up there to get him. And so he was parked in the delta of this river and lodged up on a sandbar to repair the ship. And so Rhett surprised him, but because of the tides, wasn't able to get to him in time. And so Stede sends out 3 canoes full of men because he thinks they are merchant vessels. And so these 3 canoes basically show up. Everyone starts getting up and go, "Oh, y'all are soldiers. Okay, let's leave. Let's back up, get back to our cannons." And so they end up doing these weird maneuvers, and they all get stuck on different sandbanks, Rhett and Bonnet. But the reason Rhett succeeded is because Rhett's sandbank was in the middle of the delta, and Stede was stuck up near the edge of the delta. And so the water rises Rhett's boats first, so they're able to turn to position to fire on Bonnet before Bonnet's able to get out of there.
And he gets caught.
Yeah.
He gets caught. What a that would have been like the Three Stooges, like watching them try to use like
the way I was reading it, it sounded a lot like a Three Stooges episode.
Yeah, it's just like that final battle. Well, he gets caught and he is held in trial for some time.
Mm-hmm.
Where I also hear that he almost escapes.
Almost talks his way out of it.
Oh no, he did escape. So he did escape. He left with he and his quartermaster were being held together.
That's right.
So he and his quartermaster escape and take 2 slaves with them. And their idea is basically we're gonna sail, and they get I don't remember if it was I think it was like a dinghy with a sail. And they're like, we're gonna sail along the South Carolina coast and get out of here.
He was trying to get home, I think.
Yeah. So he wanted
He's
to
like, I got a lot of money over there. Let me get back home.
Yeah, he wanted to get further up north so that he could get a boat to go back down south. And so he gets to Sullivan's Island, which, if anyone doesn't know what Charleston looks like, it's a peninsula that's surrounded by land. So it's like an inland peninsula almost. And so he's not able to get out far enough to get out of the dangerous currents around Sullivan's Island. And so he gets stuck on Sullivan's Island, and that's where Rhett and his militia find him again and rearrest him.
So close.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. This dude, young man, very wealthy, wife and kids, has a plantation in Barbados, right? Living the life on the beach, decides that he's had enough, buys a boat, does some pirating, very successful, decides to take on a man of war, not so successful, makes a deal with the devil himself, Blackbeard. He ends up going pirating with the most famous pirate of all, gets caught, talks his way out of it, gets caught again, almost escapes, and gets caught finally. He is put
to death
on the noose to die.
Yep.
He was hung.
He was hung about 2 miles from where I'm sitting right now.
Isn't that wild? On December 10th, 1718.
You know what? It was better than living the rest of his days being yelled at by his wife on that plantation in the Bahamas.
2 years, bro. Most these pirate like when we do a lot of these things about pirates and their life, 2 years seems to be like a max, It's
I mean, follow that
got like
any other culture like that. I mean, mafia, any of those guys, it was like you either die or you go to prison. Nothing changed.
Yeah, but in prison you can make really good spaghetti.
That's right.
Wow. Crazy, man. I just like 2 years. It's like it starts off good in their head. Like, we can do it. 2 years in, and it's like, we're done.
Yep.
You're either die out on sea, die of malnutrition, like die whatever, or you get hung, like whatever, or one of these other crazy tortures that they do.
I think he just got exactly what he was looking for. He played by all the rules for his entire life. He did what he was supposed to. He went to he learned all the etiquette. He was a man of high culture, and he decided that it wasn't for him. And so he did exactly what he wanted to do, and he lived the life, and he got the consequences of that life. And I think he probably died happier there than he would have, an old man on a bed in Barbados with his wife still yelling at him. Why are you dying? Why are you dying? Stop doing that. There's so much to do.
It's wild. I mean, he changed his name twice, I think. Or once he changed his name to try to hide. He never, at the end of the day, he still never wanted his family, it seems, to find out like what has happened to him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he had changed it when he changed the ship to the Royal James. What was
Yeah.
it to?
Yeah, he changed it to the Royal James after well, I mean, that didn't last long. He
No.
changed
Yeah,
it to
that
the
was-
Royal James when he became a privateer, but I mean, that lasted all of what, like 2 months?
No, he never became a privateer. He was still on his way to get the letters of marque.
So he
become a
changed it
privateer.
and then was going to get the letters.
Yeah,
of
he
marque.
changed it because
so,
he realized
yeah,
he
maybe
needed
2
to
months
pirate to get the supplies that Blackbeard
Yeah.
had stolen. That's when he changed his name and the name of the ship. But
listen.
I don't remember what.
Listen.
Captain Thomas, and yeah, so he named the ship Royal James, and some people believe it was in reference to James Stewart, who was the younger prince over in England, and it was the idea that it would make people think they were Jacobites, which were, if I recall correctly, Catholic supporters in England.
Yeah, Scottish rebel. Well, Jacobites were Scottish rebels. They fought
Were
against
they?
the crown in Scotland. Yeah.
The crazy thing is, this is such a cool story, would make a great film.
Yep.
Not the one they did on Max, where the gentleman pirate and Blackbeard were gay lovers. Not that story.
Our flag.
Oh,
is,
our flag means death. Yeah, him and
Good
Taika Waititi
name,
get
too,
gay for
though.
each other.
But I mean, like these,
with Hodor on it.
The crazy thing about like these stories that we read, and again, you take bits and pieces from different historians and stuff like that, and just like you kind of like put a story together.
Piece it together. Yeah,
it's like it's like the script is already written for you.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
someone lived it so that you could tell it.
Exactly.
Those are the stories that I love. And if you embellish it, awesome. More power to them, because now you look back on that person with such reverence.
I don't
which is what they
understand how
deserve.
Hollywood has to like make them gay. And I'm talking about the other
mega gay.
I'm talking about the other series, so it's like calm down.
Hey, we're supposed to avoid all that. Okay.
Yeah. That's true. That's why we're here.
But you did right.
Overall, though, what is your this is one of the pictures that they have. This is from the Smithsonian Magazine. So of good old there he is. The gentleman
just throwing that cake out there.
Yeah.
he looks like Charles Stewart. Looks like every picture you ever seen of Charles Stewart.
There was a good picture of, well, not a picture, but there was a good painting of Stede. It's just so funny because, you know, for all of his fame, his story is actually not that well recorded. You know, it's kind of pieced and gathered from a lot of different accounts. I think more so people are interested in the guy because it's like, in our day and age, like, who the hell was this guy? An aristocrat that just decided to become a pirate? Like, we take a bunch of interest in that. But generally, back in the day, this guy was not looked upon well. Stede was like,
no, he was kind of laughed
at. He was a poser. Yeah, he was a poser.
And
like,
holy crap, Doug B with a 20.
Yeah.
Zahoy. Yeah. Doug B. Thank you, man. Holy crap, man. Thank you, Doug B. Always a fantastic supporter, just like everybody else here. We had over 100 people hanging out with us. Still 100 people in here. I can't believe it. As we just sit back and talk pirate stories. We're gonna try to do this probably twice a month because it's just like sometimes the world is just so crazy, and it's like it's nice to make our own escapism. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Like real life stories of what's going on. You know, what happened to the fun in the world? I want to have some fun again.
And what happened to the danger? I mean, a man like Stede Bonnet, you know, we make fun of these, you know, these British guys who wear like the fluffy stuff coming out, and they had stockings that went up to their knees and all these different silks and fine clothes and stuff like that. And you just think, you know, what a pompous, terrible human being. And this guy, in all of that, decided, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a ruffian. I'm going to be a scallywag. I'm going to go. Just imagine the decision to get on a wooden boat that's propelled by sheets and go try to kill people with a big iron cylinder that shoots little iron balls. That's
Yep.
what we're gonna do, and we're gonna steal all your stuff and then hopefully not die. Like
Holy crap.
the cojones on this guy.
What's up, Buckethead?
Gifted 5
Beautiful.
memberships to the channel. Memberships is only, was it $3.99 over here? $2.99. It's not that much, but we're gonna do
means a lot.
giveaways and stuff like that over here. It's time to get this channel up and going, because dear God, everything else is just kind of.
You need some
dead, man.
videos.
I need to get like our own little Pirate Roastigo to play for memberships. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. This channel does mean a lot to me. It's probably my favorite channel to work on. I really appreciate
a lot
the
of fun
support
here.
over here. Yeah, we have a lot of fun, and we might not be the best historians, but we look good doing it. You know,
no scurvy here. Clean teeth.
no, not at all. The crazy thing is the next one I'd love to dive into Grace O'Malley.
Oh, that's
So-
such a good story.
Yeah, like Grace O'Malley, and we'll try to do our best to figure out everything about Grace O'Malley and talk about a female. We'll get Wicked back on here and all that stuff. It's gonna be awesome. But again, going back, the one thing that is really interesting about these pirates that we study, they really did, even though they were criminals, even though they did terrible things, even though they did whatever, a lot of them really held to a standard, which is really shocking.
Mhm.
So it's when I studied like this whole thing about marooning, when they would maroon people, like one of the standards is, even though that person would probably die, it was such a more horrific punishment because the people that were pirates did not want to self-delete because they
Mhm.
know that was going against God.
Mhm.
Even though they were pirates and like hunting, they had
Yeah.
like this weird moral system.
It wasn't weird. It was just morality.
But then they tortured their enemies and stuff like that.
Well, there
It's
was
like-
a bit of that.
It's
God
like
did too, though.
And so it's like the more you dive into this, like even every ship had their own like democracy, religion, and like this is what you had to follow, which they had more, I don't know what you call it, like they just
Had a
more
code.
discipline, and like it
Pirate
just like
code.
yeah, like that they followed. And you're talking about people that didn't know how to read or write. They signed their name with an X. They didn't know what they were signing half the time, but yet it was like they followed this, and they had a certain religious thing about them that kept them from doing certain other things as well. It's so wild.
Well, I mean, you have to
when
think
study
that
this.
that if you're living in that time, the world was so much larger than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
The world was gigantic. And if you're on a wooden ship with, 70, 40, 800 other people, you create your own world out there on the ocean.
But I'm just saying, we look at these people as like severe cutthroat and like
Well,
killers,
they weren't
things like that.
savages.
But then at the end of the day, it's like there was also a side of them that didn't want to go to, they wanted to go to heaven. They didn't want to go to hell. So they didn't want to do certain things to break the Bible code that they thought that was the right thing. It's just, it's wild,
Well, and a lot of times the motivations too. That was the craziest part. I think my favorite pirate in the world is Black Sam Bellamy.
He's pretty
Not Ned
awesome.
Love?
He legitimately did everything he did for love.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, somebody wrote that in a book. Like, no, that was that guy. He literally did all that for love. That's just that'd be a really good stream, is Black Sam.
So it's pretty awesome. So that's it, guys. That's our hour podcast. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. Listen, just have fun here. We might not get everything right, but we're going to have fun doing it. And if you want to know more, like there's a lot of great books out there. I usually put them in the description of my videos. If there's a pirate that you would love for us to talk about, hey, let us know once this is over in the comment section. This will be flipped over for members only, probably by the end of the day.
So
will
thanks
not
for
be,
being here.
It will not be put on the Spotify or Apple podcast. So if you want to listen to some of the other things too, check out the History of Pirates podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And holy crap, Nagranal, I'm trying not to hiccup here, also gifted 5 memberships to the channel, so you'll be able to listen to our other podcasts that are already available for members. So thank you so much, Nagranal. And Nagranal, I know you asked about this shirt, about the long sleeve. The long sleeves have been fixed, so you will get the regular. So if Nagranal gave you a membership, please let him know and thank him. So Nikki says,
Thanks,
great
Nikki.
stream. Caleb needs a new ship. Yeah,
There's a bunch of
very
holes in
leaky.
that one.
definitely a great show. Look at that. So yeah, so we're gonna. Hey man, if more people really like these, if everyone's available, I don't mind doing them every Monday. Just hanging out,
Join us on the
and
ship.
talking about all this stuff. Just let us know. Your support will make it happen. So again, check us out on Spotify. I have a podcast. The links are all there. If you want to know some of my favorite pirate books, just go on to any video on this channel, and I put them in the description. Just check it out. And I appreciate you here. And if you're new here, why not subscribe? But make sure you check out my friend's King's Advisor. He has a YouTube channel, and X-Wing also. He talks about Star Wars. So there you go.
This will be my last podcast. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a first mate and listening to the Patches and Rum podcast. Now get back to your station or I'll send you to Davy Jones' locker.